All right, today we're diving into the mind of one of the most famous artists alive. You know her work, the endless polka dots, the mirrored rooms that go on forever, but the real story behind Yayoi Kusama isn't just about art, it's about survival.
And to really get it, you have to start right here, with her own words. She said, "By covering myself in the background with polka dots, I experience self-obliteration." Whoa, not self-expression, not creation, self-obliteration. That one word, right there, that's the key to everything.
So that's the big question we're asking today. What on earth does it mean to be obliterated by your own art? Because for Kusama, those dots aren't just a pretty pattern. They're a weapon, a shield, a way to fight a lifelong battle inside her own mind.
And to understand that battle, we have to go back to the very beginning. We have to look at the wound that started it all, a hallucinatory world that she was born into.
So this is basically the source code for her entire body of work. Kusama's childhood was, well, it was rough. We're talking serious psychological abuse. And around age 10, she started having these terrifying hallucinations, visions of patterns, dots, and nets that would just spread out and swallow up everything she could see. So what did she do? She started drawing them. This wasn't some fun artistic hobby. It was a desperate act to try and get some control over the absolute fear her own mind was creating.
I mean, listen to how she puts it. "I coiled the thread of art. Without this window, I would have long ago killed myself." It really doesn't get more direct than that. For her, art wasn't a choice or a career path. It was quite literally the only thing keeping her alive.
And as she got older and eventually moved to New York City, that lifeline started to change. It became less of a shield and more of a weapon, something she could use to actively fight back. And this is how she did it. It's brilliant, really. She took her biggest, deepest fears and she just made them. Those endless, terrifying hallucinations of infinite space, they became her famous infinity net paintings. She had this intense phobia of sex, so what did she do? She sewed hundreds and hundreds of these phallic shapes out of fabric and just covered furniture with them. It was her way of confronting the fear, by overwhelming it, and by overwhelming us, the viewers, right along with it.
And get this, she even had her own name for this whole process, psychosomatic art. This is so much more than what we think of as art therapy. For her, it was a very real strategy to physically and mentally heal herself by tackling her demons head-on.
Now, her time in the New York art world was totally explosive. I mean, she made huge waves. But it all led to a breaking point, a reckoning, that sent her back to Japan and completely redefined her life and her work.
Yeah, her years in New York were just a whirlwind. She gets there in '57 and boom, by '59, her infinity nets are a huge critical success. But she was always pushing things, you know? She protested the art world at major events. She organized these wild anti-war happenings with people covered in polka dots. It made her a star, but it was relentless. By 1973, she was completely burned out and returned to a Japan that, frankly, had no idea what to do with her.
Back home, the press called her a scandal queen. Her mental health was fragile after those intense New York years. And so, in 1977, she made a decision that is just mind-blowing. She voluntarily checked herself into a psychiatric hospital in Tokyo.
And here's the part that gets me every time. This wasn't just for a little while. She has chosen to live there and work from a studio nearby ever since. Think about that. It was a strategic retreat. She decided to obliterate her public life to create the stability she needed to pour every last bit of her energy into the one thing that truly mattered, her art.
And from that quiet, protected space, her intensely personal struggle was reborn. It's what transformed her from an art world outsider into the absolute global icon she is today.
I mean, just look at this turnaround. It's night and day. Back in the 70s, she was basically ignored in Japan, called a scandal queen. Now, she's a national treasure. Her art, once called obsessive and niche, now has millions of people lining up for hours just to get a glimpse. She's one of the best-selling female artists in the entire world.
So it all circles back to this one unavoidable truth that she's repeated her whole life. For Yayoi Kusama, art has never been about fame or money or beauty. It's the evidence of a fight. It's the proof of a life spent battling oblivion and winning. And that leaves us with a pretty profound question to think about, right? Her art obviously saved her, but what about us? When we step into one of her infinity rooms and feel ourselves disappear into the dots, can that art, which was born from so much pain, actually save a little piece of us too?